Hello, my name is Maxim, and today we will talk with you about Scrum. If you somehow connected with programming, you probably heard this word. Let's start with the definition of Scrum. There are a lot of books and articles which can tell us about it. Often in such media, people call Scrum as an approach, method, or even methodology. In one book, I even found that there also writes Scrum, a revolutionary approach to project management. Okay, what can we understand from this sentence? At first, Scrum is an approach. Second, it is a revolutionary approach. Thirdly, Scrum is about project management. Finally, it is all a lie. Yes, you didn't overhear. It is all a lie. Scrum is not an approach, it isn't revolutionary, and it isn't about project management. The first question you probably have: if Scrum is not an approach, method, or even methodology, so what is it? Scrum is a framework. What framework? I know that developers usually associate framework with Angular or Vue, but Scrum also fits to this group. But let's return to the Scrum definition. There is a Scrum guide, which is the most true source of information about Scrum, because it was written by its creators, by Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland. In this guide, it is said that Scrum is a framework for developing, delivering, and sustaining complex products. To fully understand the meaning of Scrum, let's discuss the definition of the word framework. Framework is a set of basic rules and elements on which the development process is built. It means that Scrum as a framework provides foundation on which developers build programs. Okay, we understand the meaning of the word Scrum, but why do we need to use it? It should be mentioned that Scrum is used by 90% of the companies. Why is it so popular? Maybe because it was founded on empiricism. Empiricism asserts that all knowledge comes from experience and making changes. There are three crucial parts of Scrum and any empirical process. There are transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Transparency tells us that all main characteristics of the product should be visible for every member of Scrum team. For example, every member of Scrum team should know what the result of the project will be. The next aspect is inspection. It what tells for itself, because Scrum team needs to inspect what goes well and what goes wrong. The last aspect is adaptation, and it appears after the inspection, because firstly Scrum team needs to inspect, and if something goes wrong, it should adapt and fix bugs. Let's summarize this part. There are three crucial elements of Scrum and any empirical process. There are transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Okay, but who are the heroes? Who are this super team who adheres to these three principles? Let's introduce them. The first personage of this amazing framework is the product owner. You might think that he is a person who owns a product, that is a customer. It makes sense, but it isn't really so, because the product owner is responsible for managing the product backlog. No one else in Scrum team can manage the product backlog from their own. The next character of Scrum is represented by people who want to become, from my point of view, 99% of foreign scope students. It is the development team, programmers who develops a product. The optimal size of the development team varies from 3 to 9 people. It has been proven that with this number of members, the maximum efficiency is achieved. The last member of Scrum team is the guru of Scrum, person who knows Scrum at the back of his hand, the Scrum Master. His main role is to promote and support Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. Also, he tries to increase interactions between any member of Scrum team. Okay, let's calculate the parts of Scrum team together. There are the product owner, the development team, and the Scrum Master. There are 3 parts. Not big enough, isn't it? But this little number of members allows Scrum team to communicate more and discuss crucial problems in more detail. By the Scrum Guide, there are 4 main events which were created for communication and making changes. All this for Scrum events held during the sprint. Sprint is one more crucial term in Scrum. It usually takes from 1 week to 4 weeks, and during the sprint, Scrum team creates the most releasable and usable product increment. Okay, we understand the meaning of sprint, but what do we need to do before starting it? What we usually do before starting any important task? We usually promise ourselves that we will do it tomorrow, but as a perfect parent, we should plan our work. In the world of Scrum, this event calls sprint planning. During this event, Scrum team creates a sprint goal and also selects items from the product backlog. Then there is one more Scrum event called Daily Scrum, and this event held every day, but there is the main rule of Daily Scrum. It takes no more than 15 minutes, and Scrum Master teaches the Scrum team to keep Daily Scrum in this time box. And during Daily Scrum, each member of the development team tells everyone what he did yesterday and what he is going to do today. Thus, Daily Scrum is just a plan for the upcoming day. At the end of the sprint, Scrum team has sprint review, which were created for inspection and adaptation of the product backlog and product increment. After the sprint review, always held sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is an event where Scrum team identifies improvements which it will apply in the next sprint. Okay, let's summarize this part. There are 4 main sprint events. At first, Scrum team needs to plan its work. There is sprint planning. Then there is Daily Scrum, which is daily event and which takes no more than 15 minutes. At the end of the sprint, Scrum team has sprint review for inspection and adaptation of the product backlog. And at the last event, there is sprint retrospective, which were created for identifying improvements. And this loop repeats every sprint. Okay, now it is time to make some conclusions. Scrum is the most applicable and the most effective framework in the programming sphere. It proved its efficiency, and therefore it is so popular. Not all information was covered, but if you want to learn more about Scrum, I highly recommend you to go to the link in the description. There is a Scrum guide, which is the most true source of information about Scrum. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Goodbye.